watching Transformers of Eternia, and on today's video I wanted to cover the War for Cybertron Studio Series figures that were revealed, and I'll also speculate on which characters will show up in the line eventually. So let's start the show. Okay, so we'll start off with Barricade, and this guy looks pretty cool. The car looks cool and everything. The robot form is mistransformed. Those wheels that are up around his thighs and stuff, those are supposed to go down on his legs. But yeah, his head looks okay. He looks pretty badass actually. He looks kind of built out and thick, you know. It seems like he's got a backpack though. But yeah, like I said before, those wheels are supposed to be down on his legs, even though in the animation from the video game, he did have wheels up right at his hips. So that's kind of accurate. But his wheels were also purple, and those wheels are black. So I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, he looks cool and everything, but those wheels are supposed to go down. I'll show a picture here in a minute. See, there you go. That's him transformed properly. And that's him standing next to the design for the War for Cybertron video game model. And you'll see a lot more purple on that one, where it's like neon, like glow in the dark, like Tron kind of style purple. But yeah, he's definitely Barricade. I don't really like his feet. They look like planks just sticking out. They kind of look dumb. I wish they could have done something better for that, but I have a feeling that those feet just kind of flip down from underneath the car. So they're just kind of something that just kind of is like an afterthought or something that they didn't really think about until they figured out that, hey, this thing has to stand. But yeah, it looks cool and everything. I don't know if I'm going to be a big fan of this. I never really cared about it. I don't know. It's just, he's just kind of a character that's there in the game. He's not really like a main thing to, get all worked up about. There's better looking characters than this. And I would just love to see some of the other like Brawl or something. One of the other ones that were in the game that were more fun. That's Fall of Cybertron. But anyway, I'm kind of mixing up the two games because all the character designs were pretty much kind of similar in a lot of ways. But yeah, this character is one that they decided to come out with, probably because they're coming out with Bumblebee and they figured they have to have, Barricade versus Bumblebee, because ever since the movie that we've been talking about Barricade versus Bumblebee, even though in the movies you actually never really see a full-on long fight between Barricade and Bumblebee, it seems like. They just kind of have it out for a minute and it's over with, They don't really do much together. But yeah, this character is kind of cool. Like I said, I'm not sure if I want to get him, but he's kind of neat to see anyway. At least he comes with a gun and everything. But he just looks like his legs are so big and full of all the mass of the car, and looks like he's got a backpack. His arms look really thick. So I don't know. But yeah, he's cool. Hi guys, sorry to interrupt the broadcast, but I just wanted to ask you to please hit that subscribe button and like and share, because it really helps my channel out greatly. Not a lot of people are doing that, so I just felt I needed to actually bring that to your attention. And now back to the show. Thank you. So now we got Bumblebee. I have the War for Cybertron Bumblebee from the Generations line, and that one stands kind of tall if you ask me. It's a pretty tall Bumblebee. But other than that, and plus, it's complex to transform. In fact, it's so much work to transform that I will never probably try to transform it back into its car form ever again. Just like the Optimus Prime from that wave. But it's cool looking. It looks great. It looks honest to what it's supposed to look like from the video game and everything. So them coming out with this is kind of like, it almost feels like they're just overdoing it. They don't really need to do this. I think they should have just taken the one that they came out with, the Generations line, did some modifications to it to make it more posable, and just re-released it in a little bit shorter form, and that's it. Because that one was perfect pretty much as far as I'm concerned. And this one here, I think the chest is mistransformed a little bit too. It kind of sticks out, it seems like. But yeah, it looks like Bumblebee from the game. And there's not much to say about it other than they'll probably turn him into a cliff jumper in a release down the road for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this, because it's just Bumblebee looking like Bumblebee. And this is what he looked like in the War for Cybertron game. So that's cool. So now we get to the one I really, really like. And that is Voyager War for Cybertron Optimus Prime in all of his glory. Now, last week I did a show where I talked about, the Armada, Optimus Prime, and all that stuff. And then I gave my top 5 Optimus Prime figures that I always loved, not knowing that this week they're going to try to, try to get me back for that, because they came out with this stuff. They released these images, and then I'm like, wow, because this is one of the primes I actually really liked. In fact, this would have been like my 6th or 7th Optimus Prime that I really liked. But knowing that they're actually going to do a proper one in a Voyager scale, and now that almost makes this go tie with animated Optimus Prime as my favorite, So I don't know, it's just kind of ironic that they come out with this and then right after a video that I just put out where I gave my top 5 primes. This is my favorite prime from the War for Cybertron stuff, and I just love how bulky this guy is. This guy looks like he could just take that axe and just bust through a freaking building. But yeah, he's awesome, and I love how streamlined his vehicle form is. It's really kind of smooth and rounded and everything. I've always loved that about that character. I didn't like the Fall of Cybertron Optimus Prime as much as I like the War for Cybertron Optimus Prime. It's just, the War for Cybertron Optimus Prime just looks so much better in the vehicle form and everything. And he's kind of more rounded and kind of more, he just feels right in robot form and everything. And he even comes with the matrix of leadership and everything. It's just amazing how they put so much into this character. You could definitely tell somebody enjoyed the design of this character, because this is a very cool looking character. Now we get into the speculation part, which is not really speculation, because I've already heard, we've already seen a list or whatever where they talk about having a War for Cybertron Megatron from the games as well, which kind of makes sense, because if they're going to put out a Voyager scale War for Cybertron Optimus Prime, they're going to put out a War for Cybertron Voyager Megatron to match up with that. And the War for Cybertron Megatron was not really my favorite version of Megatron, because he just looks like a mixed match of like he's got the red on his arm, he's got the red on his upper arm on the other side, he's got a lot of gray parts, he's got a lot of purple parts glowing through and all this stuff. But I mean, the toy that I have, the original toy from the Generations Wars for Cybertron video game line, and that one was not bad. It just needed a little bit more posability and it would have been great. But of course, it's small. It's not a Voyager scale. It's a deluxe scale. But yeah, this character just wasn't my favorite version of Megatron. And even the Fall of Cybertron version of him wasn't the greatest either. It's just they didn't really do a good job on Megatrons for those games. But it was kind of cool that you could play as him in the game, which is nice. I liked the idea of being able to switch characters when I was playing the game. That was really cool. So, but that they're going to come out with this, and he's going to have that hover tank thing or whatever, and I'm sure it'll be cool, and it might even be kind of cool because it's going to be just as bulky as Optimus Prime probably, so I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, he's not really my favorite design, but I'll probably get him because he's just a cool, War for Cybertron Megatron, and it's the same. You kind of have to have him to go up against the Prime, so you want to have them together on a shelf at least. But that's my thoughts on Megatron anyway. So now we move on to Starscream. We all know that they're going to do a Starscream because they want to do a bunch of Seekers, so they can do Thundercracker and Skywarp and all them too. So Starscream, I'm using a third party, I think it's Planet X picture for Starscream because they did a version of him. And that's basically what you're going to get for a Voyager Starscream is you're going to get this. And I'm sure that he'll look pretty much exactly like the video game, and he'll look beefy and bulky and everything. And I kind of like that Starscream. I don't know. There's something about it I've always kind of liked. In this picture, though, I couldn't find any pictures of him, his jet mode or whatever, or his space jet mode, that looked actually kind of cool, like a jet mode, that you can kind of see. That I couldn't really get any good shots that were like sharp enough to show off the jet mode properly, because the jet mode is kind of cool, but unfortunately there's not a lot of good angles and good shots for it. So that's just the way it is, I guess. But yeah, in robot form, he looks cool. And like I said before, I had this version of the deluxe version of this from the Generations War for Cybertron line that came out a long time ago as well. And that Starscream was cool, but I didn't have the other Seekers that went with it, the color changed versions or whatever. I just had that Starscream. And that Starscream was still pretty cool. I mean, he had a lot of articulation. His feet actually could pivot and stuff, kind of like a modern figure even. So it's kind of interesting that they could do all that. But he was kind of small. He wasn't like super big, and I don't know. He just was there and then he's gone. So I don't know. He's a character that kind of is just important for the game and for the story. And I think that we need to have him at least as a Voyager if we're going to do this, because the studio series is going to run out of studio characters from the movies, and I think that they're just going to probably keep up with something like this, like a Transformers video game line or whatever, because there's a lot of characters that they could do for this War for Cybertron video games. And I wish they would re-release the video games on the newer consoles, though, because you can't actually get them on these consoles. I realize High Moon Studios is not a thing anymore and all that stuff, but I just want to see them actually have these games on a set you could buy, because I really want to get these games because I'd like to play them on my Xbox, but of course I can't. So I don't know. I just kind of sucks that you can't play these characters, but they're going to sell you the toy. But yeah, that's Starscream. I don't know what more to say about him. He just kind of looks cool. He's a character that you probably want to have in the main cast of characters. So moving on. So now we got to talk about Soundwave, because Soundwave is going to need to be a Voyager. He's going to have tapes and cassettes or whatever to go with him, all that stuff. And Hasbro could make a lot of money off of a Soundwave just from the cassettes and all the stuff that goes with him. And because he's a Voyager now, that would be a proper. But they already got they already did a Soundwave that was a Voyager of this line in the past. So I don't know what they're going to do to make it better, really, if they do that. But I guess they'll probably try to keep it more video game looking, I guess, which I'm not a fan. And these pictures here, it makes him look like he's just 99% purple and stuff. So I don't know. But yeah, Soundwave will be a great one. I don't want to go on too much because everyone knows what a Soundwave entails. And his vehicle form is just kind of a block rolling with some spikes in the front of it. But yeah, so I'm sure they'll do a Soundwave as well. So then let's see if they will actually do a Shockwave in a Voyager scale and actually do them right, because they did a Shockwave in the Generations War for Cybertron line, and he was really kind of thin and kind of skimpy. He really wasn't much of a Shockwave. He kind of felt like they were just using the name in the line, and they really need to do this as a Voyager. So I'm hoping that they'll actually do this one, because he was kind of cool, and he kind of has a weird space ship mode or whatever. But yeah, he was a cool looking character in the video game. So I really hope that they actually do him too. So now we got Slipstream, and she is freaking awesome. I think she was just like a multiplayer type of character in the multiplayer maps in Fall of Cybertron, but she would be a cool character to have, because I've always wanted to have a good Voyager scale Slipstream to go with my Starscream and all the other Seekers and all that stuff. So this design was one of my favorite designs that I've seen of Slipstream. This would be great to have as a Voyager character. And besides, they don't have too many female characters in this game, so it'd be nice to have Slipstream at least have that as be one of the female characters. So I really would like to see her. So now we got Jazz. Jazz is a character that was in the War for Cybertron, or the Fall of Cybertron game. I don't know if he was in War for Cybertron. He might have been. Anyway, but he was a cool looking character, and he had such a cool looking car, and the toy that they gave us for the Generations War for Cybertron game was very, very, not very good. It was just kind of seemed like they just quickly threw it together and just kind of put it out there. And then they even used it to kind of use to make more like a side swipe out of it almost. It wasn't good. So I really would like to have them do a deluxe version of this Jazz. I realize they have a Cybertron version of Jazz coming out at Target now from the original cartoon. And now we're going to have a Cybertron version of Jazz coming out again for the War for Cybertron or Fall of Cybertron game. It's just going to be a lot of these rehashes of the Cybertron modes in different forms and different ways. I don't even know why they released the War for Cybertron original stuff from the Siege stuff and all that, because at this point we're getting so many other versions of War for Cybertron that it almost makes that line look kind of retarded, because they're going to be like, what's the point? I mean, these are better, obviously. So yeah, besides, I would like to see this because I just kind of really like Jazz. But yeah, moving on. Okay, last but not least, Grimlock. If you want to have a leader class figure or whatever, a bigger figure for this Studio Series video game line for War for Cybertron or whatever, I would suggest that Hasbro does the Dinobots. Now, I realize you're on Cybertron and everything, but in the Fall of Cybertron video game, it was amazing how they worked them in so well into that video game, and with their ties with Shockwave and all that stuff. I just think that it would be so cool to see the Fall of Cybertron Dinobots, because they were like the maxed out versions of the Dinobots. They were like Dinobots on steroids, the way that they were so bulky and big. But yeah, they would be so cool if they actually did this in a full scale, like they're doing with the regular Dinobots right now for the Studio Series line. So if they do the Dinobots in that size scale or whatever, in the War for Cybertron style, that would be so cool. And this Grimlock was so amazing. And then having their energy sword and their energy shield and all that stuff, if Hasbro actually includes the swords and the shields and stuff this time around, because it seems like they didn't do that with the other ones for the Studio Series Dinobots. But yeah, I really would like to see at least a Grimlock that's like a leader scale. And I realize Hasbro's going to be eating up my wallet if they do that, but I just think that that would be so cool, because Grimlock is very cool in that video game. So anyway, I've gone on quite a bit longer than I wanted to, but once I get started with this War for Cybertron stuff, it's kind of cool to speculate and kind of theorize what's coming. But tell me what you think in the comments below, and let me know what Transformers you think are coming in the Transformers Studio Series War for Cybertron style. Like, share, and subscribe, and thank you for watching.